Hello, I'm Ravin Manimaran from DBT4A. So for this lab, I'll be conducting the precipitation of casein from milk. So casein is the main protein of milk and contains about 80% of our total milk protein. Casein is very useful for human life, both as an ingredient in the manufacture of food and non-food products, such as making cheese, bread, glue or bioplastic, and others. So meanwhile, precipitation is the process of separating the bonds of calcium with phosphate-contained milk. So the aim of this experiment is to determine the casein content in two different types of milk. So casein can be precipitated from milk by the addition of acid such as lemon juice, citric acid or acetic acid, which in this case I'll be using vinegar as the acetic acid, which is actually the combination of acetic acid and water. So obviously it is a form of a very mild acid, which is just perfect for this experiment, and it is also less harsh compared to the hydrochloric acid. So for the list of items, I'll be using a full cream milk. So here it is, full cream milk. So it contains about 5.4 gram of protein per serving, about 200 milliliter per serving. So the next is the low fat milk. So the protein content for this one is about 6.2 gram per serving of 200 milliliter. So another list of items is the strainer, which I'm going to use to filter the casein later, and the vinegar, of course, as the form of acetic acid. And here's some Tupperware, and this is sort of like a measuring beaker, and this is like the Tupperware which I'm going to contain the casein later. And of course this I have the watch to keep up with the timing. Okay, so that's about it for the list of items I'm going to use for this experiment. And of course the variables are also important in this experiment. So the constant variable of this experiment is the amount of vinegar added to both milk. So I'm going to make sure the measurement is the same for the both of the milk. So I'm going to use this beaker sort of thing to measure out the same amount of same amount of vinegar. And the heat and the time also is considered as a constant variable for the precipitation. The amount of milk is another constant variable. So I'm going to measure the amount of milk with this beaker also. Besides that, the type of milk is the manipulated variable of this lab experiment, because I'll be using two types of milk, low fat milk and full cream milk. So besides that, the amount of casein precipitated is the measured variable, which I'm going to record in the result later on. Okay, so I'm going to continue with the experiment now. This is the Tupperware I will be using to contain two different milk casein later on. It is labeled. I will be performing the full cream milk precipitation first, since I have only one stove at home. I added the milk in a cup measured at 160 milliliter. During heating the milk, the timer is important. I kept off the time here with the watch. So I stopped the stove at 2 minutes 10 seconds when the temperature is about 60 degrees Celsius. The boiled milk, showing some mild steam, is about 60 degrees Celsius. Here I will be adding vinegar about 10 ml which I measured with the DIY small beaker. During addition of vinegar, I added slowly and steadily. If the vinegar added altogether and if the acid content are higher, part of the casein will dissolve. The use of steel rod here is for mixing the solution gently. The precipitation is starting to form and some bubble formation can be seen. I added another 5 ml of vinegar here. Finally, I added another 5 ml of vinegar, totaling of 20 ml of vinegar. As can be seen, I swiftly switched to a silver spoon to give it a better stir. Then I use the colander to filter out the casein from the cream milk. So here it is noted that the casein remains soluble in the milk in the normal pH before the lab begins. So now after added the vinegar, the pH of the milk become more acidic. It is learned that when the pH of the milk reaches about 4.6, the casein start precipitating. Because the isolatory pH of the milk is about 4.6. This is the remains of the casein from full cream milk. I'll be adding it to the full cream milk labeled Tupperware to compare it later. Next, I will be performing the casein precipitation with low fat milk with the same procedure. The time was checked in at 2 minutes 10 seconds. I stopped the stove when there is a mild steam indicating it is at 60 degrees Celsius. As done previously with the full cream milk, I'll be adding 10 ml first, 5 ml, then another 5 ml. Totally 20 ml of vinegar will be added. Just like the full cream milk, during the low-fat milk participation, the milk pH reaches 4.6. In this, the casein is seen as insoluble form and start to precipitate. The casein seems to be at the bottom when compared to the full cream milk, where the casein was seen at the top easily. The casein is then filtered, and then I will be adding it to the low fat label Tupperware to compare it later. The result show the amount of casein obtained from both milk is about the same. The amount of milk fat in the milk doesn't affect the amount of casein or whey protein in the milk. Both types of milk contain milk proteins including casein. As the concentration of acetic acid or vinegar increases, the yield of casein increases. Acetic acid will hydrolyze protein bonds into simpler peptide bonds. This change causes more simple proteins to dissolve in water and more casein yields are produced.